Welcome, Caleb's Basketball Pod. On this episode, we're just going to talk about what's been going on over the last couple days. Free agency moves, hearing that this Kevin Durant Rockets trade may not be completed yet. It has a possibility to turn into a 7-team trade, which would be an NBA record. It's never had 7 teams in one trade. The 5 other teams besides the Suns and Rockets, of course, would be the Lakers, the Warriors, the Wolves, the Hawks, and the Nets. So very interesting. I'm assuming it would be a part of that would be the Clint Capella to the Rockets, because before it's official, Houston does have to make a move to have the money to sign Clint Capella and Dory Finney-Smith. Dory Finney-Smith may even be a part of it. That may be why the Lakers are in there. So it'll just be interesting. In July 7th, our free agency moves that we're seeing and that's announced can become official. So you won't see any teams announcing these moves are official until July 7th or after. We saw, since we last recorded, we saw Spencer Dinwiddie sign with the Charlotte Hornets. I'm not sure if I announced it or not. We saw Larry Nance Jr. sign with the Cleveland Cavaliers. That will bolster their backup center spot. I like that move. We've seen the Knicks hire Mike Brown as their next head coach. About that move, I'm not huge on Mike Brown. I do think he will use more of the bench than Tom Thibodeau did. Do I think he's a better coach than Tom Thibodeau? No. I think it's more of a stepping in a different direction rather than taking a leap. I would have liked Mike Malone, but maybe the fact of Denver's offense not being good for most of last season when Jokic was off the floor, maybe the Knicks don't want the offense be too reliant on, say, Karl Anthony Towns or Jalen Brunson. You want to be able to involve and get guys involved. Mike Brown's never really been an offensive coach, more of a defensive coach, coming from that San Antonio Greg Popovich mindset. But I have heard that James Borrego is possible to be the head associate for Mike Brown, and he is a very good offensive-minded, creative, offensively coach. So maybe the match of both of them, maybe the Knicks can take a step forward. We know Mike Brown's going to keep the defense set. Like I said, he will use the bench. He'll go into the bench. So, I think it's looking up for the Knicks. I don't know. I've just never been big on Mike Brown and never really been huge on thinking he can coach in the big moments. I've never really seen his teams go deep in the playoffs. We saw him go to the conference finals. We've never seen him go to the NBA finals. And I don't know. I'd be interested to see how he coaches in that situation, but I have a feeling he may be the type that would be out-coached, and that's why I don't like this move for the Knicks. But, hey, we'll see. Maybe Mike Brown is made for that moment. Maybe he'll do really good in that situation. But just from me watching him and seeing his play style, the lack of offensive creativity he brings is why I'm questionable on him. But, hey, the Kings offense was very good. The defense struggled. It's a little bit different than most Mike Brown teams, so maybe it's different. I'm hoping for the best for the Knicks, but we'll see. Something else that happened, we keep hearing these LeBron James rumors. We know he opted in with the Los Angeles Lakers, but we keep hearing that he's unhappy in LA. He wants out. He don't like playing with Luka. Austin Reeves don't like playing with Luka. Now, whether or not any of these are true, I don't know. I will say this, though. Austin Reeves did not get the ball as much when Luka came as he did beforehand, which is obvious. That was going to happen. But it was the same situation with Dallas, with Kyrie and Luka when Kyrie first got traded to Dallas. When you have two ball-dominant players, the rest of the team spends a lot of time just in the corner with their hands up waiting for the ball. You don't really get it. You kind of wait and see what's going on. So it'll be interesting to see what develops there. We did see Austin Reeves torn down a contract extension. It's being said that he wants more money and he'll be more eligible for that next year, but it could also be maybe he'll be eligible for that money somewhere else if he ends up not liking a full season of playing alongside Luka Doncic. LeBron James on that front, he knows the team's not built for him anymore. And there's probably not going to be any team exactly built for him at this stage in his career, and rightfully so. You should build for the future. I haven't heard that that's bothering him, but that could be what the issue is, of maybe him not wanting to play with Luka. But again, I've never heard that before, and we don't know if these rumors are true. I would say this Lakers team is not built for a championship at this moment. They really need to bolster the bench, get better shooting, because Lakers struggled in shooting the three ball. We saw them fill that roster position with DeAndre Ayton. The only problem with DeAndre Ayton is we've seen this guy quit on the floor. We've seen people question his knowledge and his passion for basketball, and I don't like that in a player. So if he plays like the early Phoenix Suns with Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, you have yourself a star center. If we get the last couple seasons DeAndre Ayton, we have ourselves someone sputtering and not wanting to play basketball, not giving virtually any effort for rebounds or defense, trying to block shots. So a lot of that depends on which DeAndre Ayton shows up. I think if he puts his heart into it, Luka Doncic can make him, I want to say, a 15-10 guy. And that's not bad. That's a pretty good starting center at this point, especially probably with a block or two. And if J.J. Redick gets to utilize the full DeAndre Ayton, then I think that's a good pickup. But it just goes back to which Ayton do you get. I don't like the fact that he's so quick to give up on plays and so quick to just not finish the job. Like we heard, and this was an actual thing, he missed a game because the roads were icy. Mind you, his teammates lived in the same area, got to the game. He missed the game because the roads were icy. I just question that passion for the game of basketball. But yeah, we're going to see. There's still a lot more to this NBA offseason. We're seeing Dame Lillard. Everybody's saying all the teams that have interest in Dame Lillard. I would be surprised if there's a team that's not interested in him, whether or not he would even think about going. There's probably more of a question than a team interested in him, because I'm assuming all 29 other teams besides the Bucks that released him are looking and trying to kick the tires on Dame Lillard. And that's just how he is. When there's a star like that and you can get him for a vet minimum, because he's going to be making $22 million off of Milwaukee for the next 5 years, it's a really good deal. And you would go for that, and you would try to fit him in however possible you can. I see teams like the Lakers, like the Celtics, like the Warriors. I think those would be interesting fits, but I know they would fit him. We know Miami's going to be hot on his trail. They've been wanting Dame Lillard for years. And we also hear kind of a disrespect that Milwaukee gave Damian Lillard. He wanted to rehab in Portland because that's where his kids are, and they said no. So it's a breath of fresh air to be out to Milwaukee. Now he don't have to listen. He don't have to play by those rules. When he signs a contract, he can rehab. He can get Van a contract where he can rehab wherever he wants, hopefully around his kids, and close to where he can see his kids and his family and stuff like that. So it's a good thing for Dame. Don't be upset for Dame Lillard, because he's going to get on the right team and he's going to come back and he's going to show out. He also, we're hearing reports that he was never happy in Milwaukee, so that's why you never got the best Dame Lillard in Milwaukee, and you still got pretty dang good Dame Lillard. So I'm interested to see where this goes, and I hope the best for Damian Lillard. The Milwaukee side of things, releasing Lillard, I understand you had issues in signing Miles Turner, but that does not make you a championship team. Matter of fact, I think now you're worse off than you were before when Dame came back, because Miles Turner is not Damian Lillard. That's no disrespect to this guy. He was just in the NBA Finals, but he also didn't really show up in the NBA Finals. And there was a lack of Miles Turner on the Indiana Pacers in the NBA Finals, lack of dominance, lack of showing paint presence, and we've seen that throughout his career. He's up and down, but I don't think you got better. Then you signed Gary Harris. Your starting point guard's Kevin Porter Jr. I just don't see Milwaukee as a championship team. I don't see Milwaukee as a championship contention team even. Another team though in the East making some moves. I look at Atlanta, and I spoke a little bit on this last episode, but Atlanta's making moves, and I think they're putting themselves in perfect position to strike in the wide open East. Because any of the teams right now that would be favored have yet to make it to the NBA Finals with their core and their group. So, if you're Atlanta, why not strike? Trae Young was in the conference finals a few years back against Milwaukee. Why not strike? See if Milwaukee's not lying in wait, waiting for you. If you can just get past that and be that team in there. So I love what they're doing. I'm interested in what Dallas is doing. Chris Paul said he's holding out and he's hoping to still be a starter. I just think Chris Paul has to be real with himself at this point in his career. He's not a starting caliber point guard. And respect to him, he's still playing really good, and he played every single game last season being in the later stages of his career. Respect to Chris Paul. One heck of a player, most definitely all-time, possibly one of the greatest point guards in NBA history. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But the fact that he wants to be a starter, you have to be real with yourself. You have to say, at this point, I'm best coming off the bench like a sixth man, keeping the team organized, keeping a championship team together while the star players or player goes to the bench. And then you just keep the team organized, you keep everybody on the right track, you keep them running the plays that they're supposed to. And I think that would be best suited for Chris Paul, but try and be a starter at this point, I don't like that. And I guess because he's so competitive, and we know that from Chris Paul. But you have to be real for yourself, and the man's had an amazing career, so he doesn't need to be that competitive at this stage in his career. At this stage in his career, he needs to settle down and say, I can win a championship here, and go and play on that team, back up, and be the best backup point guard possibly in the league. We also see Russell Westbrook still a free agent, and he's not garnering the interest Chris Paul's garnering. So it'll be interesting to see who signs Russell Westbrook. I thought he played really well as a backup in Denver. I don't think Denver's going to sign him back because I don't really think he's needed. I think they need more shooting off the bench than they do like an organizer. But who knows? He did play one heck of a season last year with Denver, and Nikola Jokic liked him, so it's still a possibility. I believe we saw the Kings, after signing Dennis Schroeder, said they are no longer interested in him. So it just makes you wonder what teams are looking at him. But we have a lot more guys that we expect to get signed in the coming days, and we'll be back at you next week for another new episode. Happy 4th, guys, and I hope you enjoy your holiday.